Hello, and welcome to the Link Up. How are you? We're doing our weekly check right now. How are you feeling? Are you okay? Are you feeling out of sorts, maybe a little malaise, feeling under the weather? Or just some sniffles? Or maybe you have a cough, you have a slight fever? Now is not the time to self-diagnose or self-medicate, all right? Now's the time that you check in with your doctor and take their advice and perhaps get tested. It's better to be safe and not sorry. This virus is not playing, everyone. It's not playing. So I certainly hope that you're following your protocols, you're wearing your mask, washing your hands, and you're physically distancing. Today on the Link Up, it's going to be an interesting session today. We're linking up both here at home and in the UK. Now, my friend and mentor, Julian Rogers, sent me a link to a UK show where he was being honored. And there, to my happy surprise, was a show called The Living Room. I enjoyed the entire 2 hours, and then I went and watched some of the others. And I'm thrilled to say that the hosts join me here today on the Link Up. And they're Bajans. So linking up today, Andre Barrow, Phillip Robinson, and Mark Corbin, hosts of The Living Room. You know how we always like to expose creativity and innovation here on the Link Up? Well, our guest, Deborah Grant, she falls kerplunk in that category. This former accountant is a certified international tour director. Now, what exactly is that? Well, you're going to find out. And you're also going to find out how she uses the internet to showcase our island during a pandemic. And we'll do that a little later in the program. And we wish Dr. Sharon Marshall a happy birthday. And it's going to be a working birthday as she connects with us to give us the scoop on the opening of UNCTAD 15 right here in Barbados and just what is in store for this very important conference. Remember, you can participate. That's right. You can watch our stream live on Facebook and put your questions or your comments there in real time at CBC Barbados. Or you can join us on YouTube. So we're going to get started in just a little bit with the gentleman of the living room when we come back. Okay, The Living Room is a show out of the UK and it's online. You can see it on YouTube and on Facebook. And we're just going to show you a little clip from the opening of The Living Room right now.
Anyhow.
All right then. All right, when they get me. All right, but I am my royal colors though. We got royalty in the house later, so you know I ain't royal. I all right with this.
Easy.
I'm an individual.
Royal wine.
Close enough. Hey, Mandy. Hey, everybody. How we doing? Welcome to another edition of The Living Room. It's a special edition in the Living Room today because today is a living legend in the living room. And we'll get to that in a second. I'm your host, Andre, our co-host, Andre, with my good friends, Phillip and Mark. If this is your first time, you're here on We Global. Hit like, hit follow if you're on YouTube, ring the bell. Follow us on Instagram or on Twitter as well. And as I said, this is We Global, where we come together here every Sunday evening, afternoon, morning, depending on where you are, and just have good Caribbean conversation. And we'll tell you more as we go on. But let's get straight to it. How are we doing, guys?
We're doing good, man. Just listening to you. Listening carefully.
Carefully. Oh, you're talking claiming? No, that was slip of the tongue. Slippity tongue. Hey, Jennifer. Yeah, of course. Y'all know I do this all the time, so I that was a mere slip today. But be all right.
Listen.
I want to do it, man. How things up north of the river?
North or north?
Well, both of y'all north of me, so north of the M25 is north.
I mean, as you're talking about north, how things in North London?
Oh, see.
Oh,
This is why you don't got friends, you know. This is where you got friends. All right, so Arsenal win a little game today, a little fluky game.
North. I just asked a question.
Look, congratulations, man. Congratulations.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
But we know what's going to happen to Arsenal come Christmas, as always does. So that's all right.
Okay.
That's all right. But congrats. Hello, I'm Blackman. How we doing? And everybody else who's in there. Chesterfield, how we doing? Yeah. But congrats to them, man. I didn't listen to it, but decent game from what I heard.
Of course not.
You know, no, I can't tell you last day I watched a good game of football. I just watched the results, you know. But anyway, congrats, man. Enjoy
I take
yourself.
it. Listen,
yourself.
I've moved on.
Yeah,
I've taken the congratulations. Thank you, man.
But
all
just
is
so
well.
people know, he's very petty, you know. He send me when he score goals, he send me voice notes and stuff for his household celebrating. I mean, what's that? Seriously, what's that?
Petty. He's very petty.
Said you don't have him my evening lunch and they get him voice. What? Household keeping beer nice. All right.
I enjoyed that so much when I was watching it. And what you see is what you get. Basically, you know, the cheeky one is Andre. Andre, am I right? I do believe you are cheeky. And throughout the 2 hours, you were cheeky. And
Was I?
Phillip, I think, the mediator. And Mark, the kind of quiet one, but not so quiet, because he's kind of cheeky too.
Mark quiet?
I'll take it.
Mark
I'll
quiet.
take it.
Yeah.
Whoa.
I said, but I think he's cheeky too. Welcome, gentlemen.
Oh, okay.
It's so nice
Thank you, Peter. How are
to
you?
see you all. I'm well, thank you. Let me introduce you all to our Link Up crew. So we have Andre Barrow, and we have Mark Corbin and Phillip Robinson. Nice to have you gentlemen here. Just let me share a little something about these Bajan Brits with their complete Bajan accents, which I love. Andre is a legal operations practitioner living in London with his wife and 2 daughters, hailing from Mangrove in St. Phillip, so I know that the Philippines are clapping and applauding this morning, via Black Rock, St. Michael. So we'll find out in a little bit how that happened.
My mother won't let me. My mother
Mark
won't
the
forget.
Black Rock.
Mark is let's see, highways and transportation specialist in the UK. He also hailed from Mangrove in St. Phillip, and he has that in the present. He lives in Wolverhampton with his wife and sons, and you cheer for Arsenal? Anyway,
Of course.
Okay. With his wife and sons, Mark enjoys football, music, watching traffic. It's here. I'm not
It's a
kidding.
thing. Honestly, it's a thing.
He enjoys watching traffic and
We had the same
staying
reaction when you wrote that.
and staying rooted in all things Bajan. Good for you. Phillip now works in tech in technology in the UK and is originally from Eagle Hall, St. Michael. Okay. He now lives with his wife and 2 kids in Manchester. He is a passionate writer, musician, and kitchen improvisation specialist. As I said, this is going to be fun.
He's a specialist at the end of that.
Specialist!
I did say improvisation.
And he's not even kidding. He's not even kidding.
No, I'm not. I'm very serious about that.
You are a specialist in that sphere. Okay.
Yes.
So, Link Up family, we say good morning to We Global family, the living room family. Gentlemen, welcome. Let's just get, I think, the roots and history out of the way, because there are 2 mangroves in Phillip, people, and there's one hailing from Eagle Hall, so this should be an interesting story. How did you get from there, well, from here to there? Barbados to where you guys are at now.
Oh,
Who wants to go first?
No, you go ahead, man. You go ahead. Send the cheeky one.
No,
Go ahead, Andre.
My mother, I'll go first. I'll go first. They let me go first. Okay, so my mother actually moved here in the late 60s. So I was born here, but I didn't grow up here in the UK. At 2 years old, in her wisdom, she thought it best for me to grow up in Barbados. So I went to Barbados and I grew up in Barbados. Grew up in Black Rock initially, and then we moved to Mangrove and St. Phillip. Went to St. Martin's Four Rose, then went to the Alexandra School, graduate at Astra as well, and what's not. And then after a while, I came back here after university, after UE, and did my master's. Didn't really like it, went back to Barbados, but then thought, actually, why not take the opportunity to explore the world? And then in 2003, my wife and I, we decided to move to the UK, and that's how I got here.
So many questions, like tell
them
me
all. I'm
the
here to answer them
story of living in St. Phillip and busing it, I would assume, to Alexandra School. That is a story in itself now.
It started very early, at like 6:30 in the morning, I can tell you that.
Wow.
It started very early. But initially, though, I grew up with my grandmother as well in Black Rock. And initially, I was going from Black Rock to St. Peter. But then once I hit 4th form and 5th form, then we were back in Mangrove. And then I started to go from there. But it's early mornings, I can tell you that. But good fun nonetheless.
I'm sure. Alexandra, you know, they usually have some interesting stories to tell about the school. A school that actually is very well grounded in theater and very creative. So, and sports. Sure. So, okay.
Yes.
Let's chat with the mediator, the quiet one, Phillip.
Hi.
Good morning. Yeah.
Good
I'm
morning.
Phil Robinson. Yeah, first of all, let me say good morning to my parents. I'm sure they're watching from Eagle Hall. It was their 50th wedding anniversary. It was their 50th wedding anniversary yesterday.
Oh, congratulations, Mr. and Mrs. Robinson.
Yes. Yeah, so I'm from Eagle Hall, born, grew up in Barbados, went to school at the Combermere School. I think we're
Up and on, up and on.
Up and on, up and on. We're also well known for theatre and sports and all those nice things as well.
Yeah, and lots of other things.
And other things, yeah. So I left Barbados back in 2000. Actually, we all left around the same time, but not with the same plan. Also went away and did some studying, and then an opportunity came up elsewhere in Germany. So I spent 5 years in Germany, and then moved back to the UK after 5 years. My wife Nicole is also from Barbados, quite around the Eagle Hall area as well. So we got married back in 2003, and she had moved to Germany with me, and then we moved to Belfast initially in Northern Ireland, and then moved to Manchester a couple years ago.
If you're doing the mathematics, that's 18 years ago you guys got married, and I'm telling you, you all are some pretty young looking individuals. So
We'll take that. Thank you.
You're welcome. love Mark's laugh. I do. I really, really do. So
I know the
Mark,
backstories, right? So that's why I'm laughing.
oh, as we would say here, come out things.
No.
out things.
Carry on.
Okay, faithful
Yeah, we
and
know his
loyal
too.
to the end. Faithful and loyal to the end. So Mark, I'm going to have to split yours because we've got a break coming up, but just give us a little bit of your history and we'll share some more on the other side.
Yeah, that's fine. I spent the first 8 years of my life, you know, like Andre said, he grew up with his grandmother. I grew up with mine as well. I lived in Todd's in St. John, and at 8 years old, I went to live with my aunt in Mangrove in St. Phillip, and that's where I spent the vast majority of my life before I moved to the UK. I went to school at Princess Margaret, and I was never a very good student. In fact, these guys will tell you how well I did at school. I went to school to have fun. And probably, maybe if I had paid enough attention at school, you know, I could probably be a world beater by now. But I had some great times at school, some fantastic memories, and probably didn't pay enough attention to what was going on. But anyway, that's a story for another time. I moved to the UK in 2001 to pursue a degree in automotive technology. That was my interest. I always loved cars. And I always had a fascination with roads, you know. And over the course of my life here, I've moved from automotive to being a transport planner and a traffic professional, and that's what I do. I love traffic. I love highways. I love to understand connectivity and movement of people. And like the guys, I came with my wife as well. We moved here. We studied together, and we've been roaming England for the last 20 years, along with our 2 children.
That's sweet. Wow, y'all have some serious common denominators. You know, 2 children, married your wives, took them up with you, you know, Mangrove, St. Phillip. Yeah, some interesting backstory for sure.
Plenty.
All right,
Plenty.
but one thing I'm not going to let you get away with, you know, or from, is when we come back from the break, I want to find out just what exactly is it do you watch in the traffic when we come back.
No problem. No problem.
Chatting with a gentleman from We Global this morning on the link up as we make a connection in the UK. And one of the hosts of the living room, Mark Corbin, has a fascination with traffic. As a matter of fact, it's part of his career. So when you're watching traffic, Mark, what are you looking for? What do you see that we don't while we sit behind the steering wheel and fume?
Well, you might be sitting behind the steering wheel and fuming, but when I'm watching, I'm looking to see, well, who's actually sitting behind the steering wheel with you? What's the composition of the traffic? Cars, buses, trucks, bicycles? How many people are in each vehicle? What does that look like at certain times of the day? So it's all trying to get a deeper understanding of what you're seeing and just looking beyond just the frustrating queue, you know, and trying to see how people are behaving. So these guys think it's funny, but I've learned that I'm not the only person that do it from talking to other people.
No, I'm understanding what you're saying, because I would assume, you know, am I wasting car space, not carpooling, because I travel by myself? You know, while other people might have cars with other individuals in them, and therefore resting 3 other vehicles, and therefore all of the fumes, for want of another word, and also what time's heaviest, what time's lightest, that sort of thing.
Well, you're what we call a single occupancy vehicle. You know, you travel on your own, and that's like one of our worst enemies when it comes to traffic.
I know.
Somebody who's just sitting in the vehicle by themselves. So, yeah, we try very much to encourage you to shift to something else or to share.
Well, I can't shift with anything else here. No train, no ferry, no what's those things that run on a rail? Trams. Right, nothing like that. The bicycles, bus, my car. Oh, and L2, my feet.
Well, that's good. You got options, so
That works.
Yeah, I got options. Will I take them up? Okay, so I will remain your worst enemy. However, I'm sorry, I'm troublesome. But then you put this into your career and what you're doing, and how then do you make it better? And Tony Hines is saying, go on, my Bajan brothers. Morning, Tony. Nice to have you join
morning,
us.
Tony.
Yeah, Tony.
Well, it's important when you're looking at traffic that you understand, you know, what are the problems that are being caused by traffic, and how can you mitigate them. We generally look to see, okay, well, how can I help you, Peter, to retime your journey? So do you have to leave home every day at the same time, or can you go at a different time? Do you actually have to drive, or can you go in a different vehicle, remote? Can you actually reroute? You know, can you go a different way, or can you completely remove your journey? So we do have some tools that we can call on when it comes to encouraging people to look differently. Admittedly, in a place like Barbados, where those tools might be a little bit less limited, it can be more difficult. But that's the step that we now have to make to try and make our transport system a little bit more diverse in terms of what is on offer.
Right. I find this fascinating, by the way, and we could talk forever, but the others are here, and I want to find out, what is a kitchen improvisation specialist? So, how do you improvise your kitchen, Phillip?
I'll give you an example. I'm talking about food, by the way. Just to be clear, I'm not talking about. Yes.
I thought you were talking about structures, and you're talking about food.
No. I'm talking about food.
You will see in a second. Don't worry, Peter.
I'll give you a few examples. So one is I don't like to waste stuff, right? And 2 is if I don't have, I will find a way. So classic example is November 29th. What should be happening on November 29th? What should be cooked on November 29th?
Well, conkeys for a start.
Conkeys for a start and for a finish. So there was one year I could not find pumpkin. And what I did was I said, we will still have conkeys. I put in carrots. Use carrots to make conkeys. And it was good.
And Peter
It's just a bit of an improvisation.
I whole of Barbados want to know where you're from.
But that is not conkeys.
It's just a way. It is, but it is just a way. If you understand your food,
So
you understand your ingredients, you will always find a way.
Those are not conkeys.
They're probably not conkeys, but it was still the essence and
Listen, you want to know why I am happy to rib you? I'm happy to do it because one year I waited too late to get banana leaves. And horror of horrors, I steamed mine in foil. And
you have to do without. If you don't have, you do without, but you don't put it in foil.
You got term for that, Barrow. What you call them?
I prefer to use carrots.
Cornmeal in foil, man. Cornmeal in foil. No.
But no, I'm telling you, they had, and I had a little banana essence or something or the other that I found, and they were not bad. People wouldn't eat them, but I did.
Okay.
Yeah, but it was real funny like that. Every November we have a discussion, for want of a better word, on raisins.
Yes.
Or
I
not?
am
And the other
against
people.
raisins.
And the other people.
Well, there are a
Yeah.
lot of people that don't like raisins in their conkeys.
No.
So,
no.
right.
You still love them.
So it's exactly, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, so I never did it again, but I'm very honest, I did. I steamed them in foil. So that is kind of like your carrots, okay?
All right.
It's not.
So
It's not. When I talk about improvisation,
As bad as foil is,
that is not it.
foil is. The carrots
Yeah.
is another level. The carrots is another level.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just tell you, yeah.
okay.
Just carrot.
So your improvising comes from a chemical or chemistry background, so you know, oh Lord, carrot conkeys haven't. Thank you, Suzanne.
Carrot conkeys.
Yeah.
That's what I did. Actually, I did study chemistry. For my
Pamela does
first
not
degree.
like conkeys at all. She must be the
Oh.
only Bajan. Oh, Pamela, I am so sorry.
I think there might be
Indeed.
two others with her.
Wow. I feel for you. I do.
Yeah.
Carrot keys.
I like
I
it.
love
Something
my
like that.
people.
Not to you try them. I have not done them since then. But to be honest,
I
I
wonder
was
why.
really pleased with them. I was really pleased with them. They're good.
Yeah.
You
And
and
again,
how
it's
many others
just
with
improvisation. Yeah,
Carrot
everybody else
cake.
is happy.
True,
That is
Anne.
carrot cake.
True.
That is very true.
True. True. But no,
these? Agreed.
I understand Didi does not want conkeys nor carrot keys with or without raisins. Okay,
she's
got
happy.
you.
Half a bacon.
Got
there,
you.
too.
You know that
That's a
cat.
Bajan. That's a Bajan. But Andre, you laughing at other people, you know, with their carrot keys and things like that. But what do you do that we might find surprising? Oh, legal practitioner who, wait, let me check my notes again. Legal operations practitioner who only hails from Mangrove and did not put in any hobbies or anything like that. What do you like to do?
Me, well, I do a lot of things. I lead worship at church. I go to church called Hillsong, and I sing and lead worship. I write songs as well, a little bit there, also. And yeah, so those are the kind of things that I like to do. And occasionally watch Tottenham play football, but let's not talk
Oh,
about
you're a Hotspur fan.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the guys would probably tell you what else I do that they would laugh at. I don't know. To
No,
me,
they
it's
seem to be
stuff.
very loyal
great
and
cake
very
specialist.
close-lipped. They're not
He's a great cake
sharing.
specialist.
He's a what?
Oh, yeah, that's true.
He's a great
He's a
cake
good great
specialist.
cake.
Why surprised I didn't tell you about that? He's a great
Great
cake specialist.
Oh, well.
cake. Okay.
The black cake.
Yeah,
And
I
that's
make, I
it.
make a
Pick
little
that-
great cake every
pick
now
that
and
recipe.
then.
You make it.
Yeah, I know.
Fantastic.
Say
When do
that's
you make
surprising.
it? No, I
Of course I
didn't.
make it.
I didn't. I
Make a
didn't.
jump
I
back there,
didn't.
man.
I didn't. I just went, you make it. Okay. So
Yeah.
when do you make it?
So for me, my fruit's on all now, and I've been using the same set of fruit now over for a number of years. What I tend to do is a jar. I take out 3/4 of that. I use that, but then the last bit that's left back, that's what I use then to infuse the one for the next year.
Oh, your
So I've been running the
grandmother's
same-
proud.
There you go. And my aunt as well, my late aunt Cecile, she's proud as well. But that's kind of her thing that I got there. And that's what I do. So I've been running the same jar now for about this last 7 or 8 years or so. That's just been
Wow.
going on and going on and going on and adding to. So that's what I tend to do sometimes. The first couple didn't come out too well, but now I on point now. Now I on.
Yeah, my mom's very proud because she passed on the cooking gene to my son. So, you know, I guess with the foil and the conkeys, you can get it. Understand why the great cake is prepared by my son and done so very well every Christmas. So, yeah. The gene
You don't even
passes
talk about the
on.
foil.
You know, sometimes it
Anymore.
skips a
Pass on.
generation, but
Yeah.
she was lucky that you pulled it up. So, gentlemen, let's talk about the United Kingdom and your journey there and the cultural shock, I'm sure, that might have, met each and every one of you. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, the UK experience, right here on the Link Up. Gentlemen, let's talk I don't know, when you left Barbados and you went to the United Kingdom, I'm sure you must have had certain preconceived ideas about what that journey would be like. And then when you got there, was it the same as you thought, or was it different? And if so, how? So I'm going to start with Mark this time.
Well, my journey was quite interesting to start with, actually, because I went straight into university when I first came. And I always tell a story about my first winter here, October 2001, how I sat in the bus and cried my way home from a lecture one evening because I just felt like, man, this is not for me. This is not going to work. It is too hard. It is too cold. And outside is too dark for too long, because 3:30 in the evening, it's like 6 o'clock in Barbados, and you can go sleep and wake up and it's 10 o'clock in the evening and it's still dark. It's a heavy feeling. But I always remember, having a conversation with self about, look, you can either dig in here and try and make it work, or you can pack your bags and me and my wife could head home. But we kind of worked through that. The cultural shock was, something that I felt it wasn't too much of an issue to me at that time, because my grandfather came here and he worked for well over 27 years in England. I was a little bit familiar, having visited previously. And it does take some adjustment, though, when you are coming to go to school and then go into the world of work, which is a whole new place completely, coming out of Barbados and, trying to build a career in the UK. It's hard work. You got to work really hard, and you know that when you are trying to make your mark in a place that is not home, it's very, very different to how you're going to behave, how you're going to carry yourself, how you're going to work, and the standards that you have to try and ascertain. So I found it tough to settle, but over a period of time, I found myself and eventually settled in quite well.
Well, you said something really important there, though. You said you had a conversation with self, and that's something that we talk a lot about here on the Link Up. I usually like to say that I'm closed for stock taking. I do that around my birthday. I take stock. How has the year been? What do I like? What don't I like? What am I doing that I don't like? What am I saying that I don't like? Are there things that I'm sharing that I like? Am I a person that I still like? And if not, then, what kind of changes am I going to make? And it's very important that one does that. It keeps a check on you, I do believe, personally. But Phillip, what about you? What was I'm not talking to Andre yet, because his is a different kind of story, because I think he popped in and out of the UK before he finally settled there. So what was your journey like? And I know you did that from Germany, so this is going to be an interesting conversation.
Yeah, so initially when I left Barbados, I also came to the UK, to the north of UK, to Lancaster University, and my intention was just doing 1 year and returning back. But some things changed. One was the company I was working for disappeared. It was one of these, an offshore company, and sometimes they tend to disappear. And then an opportunity arose in Germany, in a city called Karlsruhe, that was really good. I was working with the university there and also with a large software company that I was keen to work with. So I went over there for 5 years, and Germany was tough. It gave me a lot of respect for people who live in a country where it's not their first language, and you have to, one, learn the language, and then also adapt to the culture as well. And I remember when I moved there, my sister was laughing because I was never great with languages.
Oh dear.
and here I was suddenly having to learn one. And initially people were saying, oh, you don't have to worry about learning language, everybody speaks English. While that is 50% true, a lot of people I met didn't speak English and struggled with English. And also in certain contexts and circumstances, you'd get there and people actually wouldn't want to speak English because they would struggle with it, just like I would struggle with speaking German. But that taught me the important lesson of learn the language of the place you're in. Yes. And not just the spoken language, but the cues, how what's the culture here? What do people like? What do they not like? Nicole, my wife, she joined me in Germany after 2 years. She came over as well, and she also learned German. But then an opportunity with the same company came up in Northern Ireland, in Belfast, and we thought this might be a good time to move. So we went over and visited Belfast and really liked it. It had a real, almost Bajan vibe about it, the way people communicated and moved. The accent was very different to any accent we had heard before. And people were really funny and friendly. You know, you would be at the bus stop standing up and people would just start talking to you. And there just seemed to be a real connection there that we felt. So we moved there and then got soaked into that culture and recognized, well, there's actually a lot of division in Belfast, you know, because of the history of the Troubles between the Loyalists and the Unionists, or people who say the Catholics and the Protestant West Belfast, East Belfast. And we got involved in a good church there, but also in a good gospel choir, which is the Belfast Community Gospel Choir. And that really got us pulled into the culture and community a lot more. So both our kids were born in Northern Ireland. So for a while we had children with Northern Irish accents. But we moved to Manchester 6 years ago, just with another opportunity that came up. And Manchester is very similar to Northern Ireland, but still very different in terms of the dynamic. You know, in Belfast there were very few black people there. I was the public relations for the African Caribbean Society, and whenever you hear there's something called an African Caribbean Society, you know that you have very few black people, and everybody that's a little dark.
You gotta represent.
Together. Exactly. Yeah.
Now I find that fascinating though, because my goodness, you're dealing with two difficult languages, because Irish, you know, is something in itself, and then the Germanic languages are, even though they have a little bit of our language has a bit of foundation there, you can recognize some of the English words in German.
Absolutely.
It's you know, something but then their personality is so regimented, you know, so I just...
Yes, and that it was something I had to learn as well, because at first I took offense to that. I found that, people are a little bit short. But after a while, I really started to appreciate that genuine care. And the thing is, we still have really, really good friends from Germany, because when you make friends in a place like that seems cold, you're making real, sincere friends.
True.
And that's what we learned.
I have a very dear friend, who she came here to study while her father was in the diplomatic corps, and then they went back. But you know, she is an amazing individual, and that's where my fascination with them came, because she's quite the character, and her personality as well. When I was chatting with her about the pandemic and how they were handling it, they were one of the countries where the people were actually following the rules, and it's something that they do without thinking. You know what I mean? So I found that fascinating. I have
loads of stories about that. Yeah.
Andre,
hello.
So tell us a little bit about your journey. As you said, you were born there, came here, went back. Right, go ahead.
Yeah, so though slightly different, it's still very similar in that I would say initially when I first came to the UK in '98 to study, I think the big shock for me was just how university life was different here than it is in the Caribbean or in Barbados. One of the things that I really valued while I was at university here is the way how in Barbados individuality is really bred into us. In other words, don't be follow pattern, do your own thing, stand on your own 2 feet and what's not, which could be very consuming or all-consuming or intimidating when you go to university here initially, which is very much of a find a group, everyone is moving together, you kind of feel a bit pressured to do what everybody's doing and what's not. So I would think that's one of the initial shocks that I had of how, the individual wasn't necessarily initially, in my opinion, celebrated that much. It was always like, why aren't you doing this or why aren't you doing that along with other people? But the individuality to me that we foster so much in the Caribbean was a fantastic thing and allowed me to stand on my own 2 feet. But then initially I didn't really like it. So I moved back to Barbados. But then while I was there and working and what's not, Carol, my wife, who's a fantastic QC girl, we just thought, hey, let's go do something different. And, as I had a UK passport, why not? Let's go to the UK and explore the world, explore Europe and see a little bit more what's outside. And initially everyone was like, are you crazy? You got a decent job, doing well, what's not? Why are you going? But for me, that's just the adventurous nature of myself. I like to get out there and see what's out there as well. So then we moved. I came in October 2003, and that was great. But then one of the things that really impressed upon me was that in that December, one of my aunts or aunties took me to a Christmas program, as it were, but it was one of people who had moved to the UK in the 60s. And they were just talking about their time. And one of the things that really hit me was just how much these people went through, because obviously they were talking about the times when it was no blacks, no dogs, no Irish. And that really impressed upon me to say, you know what, I will succeed here, because the legacy that these people have gone through, what they've left for me, I'm going to stand on it and, and not necessarily pull it down, but I want to stand on it. And they've gone through so much. And that really was a really determining factor in me just buckling down. Winters, rain, snow, fog, whatever it is. Like, no, this is never going to defeat me. Not when I see what these people went through in my mother's and my auntie's time.
Yeah, we've had many discussions here on the link up with the Windrush generation, and
exactly
what they went through was amazing, and they're such strong individuals. And I sometimes think that if they didn't have that Caribbean background, they wouldn't have made it, but it was that grounding from the islands, wherever they came from, that foundation that gave them. Wait, Michael Cumberbatch is saying, somebody's saying about follow pattern. So are you trying to say that they're following each other? Oh, wow.
Explain yourself.
Kill Cadogan. I love it. I love it. But gentlemen, then you're faced now with a pandemic. And these are interesting times. And I think that they test the mettle of everyone. Another thing we like to mention here is the quotation that adversity builds character, but there's another one which says that it doesn't build character, it reveals it. So, what did it reveal about the country in which you live when you're faced now with the unknown, and you're recognizing that the unknown really and truthfully depends on each of you, depending on each other. And I'm sure you understand what I mean by that. Mark, you want to take that one?
Absolutely, because this pandemic has exposed a lot of the frailties of the society that we live in. The deep inequalities that we see from one day to another. The people who are lowly paid or who might have been pre-pandemic considered lower skilled, suddenly we get to recognize as a society who's really essential, who's really important when it comes to keeping our society going and when it comes to looking after each other. I think certainly from my perspective, it really helped me to look around me and see the people who are really valuable and important to my life's journey. I think the three of us would probably say we've spent more time communicating with each other and in closeness with each other over the course of the pandemic, because I think that's something that has naturally happened. You went back to the core of who you are as a person, the people you love and enjoy, the people whose presence you enjoy, and the people who can help to lift you and carry you. And I felt that that has been a very, very important period for me personally, and I'm sure it has been for you guys as well. So it has forced us to look inwardly, but it has also allowed us to look across the people who are important to us, and also there in Barbados, our families back home, be in constant contact, because this is also a very dark period for them as well.
Definitely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, Andrea, you have wanted to comment on that, I think, and then we will talk about We Global after the break. Andre, before the break, you wanted to jump in, and we kind of broke your rhythm. But go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was going to build on what Mark was saying, because I think it also exposed things that we probably take for granted. The ability to move around, to do what we want, when we want, especially. And I was thinking just the other day that this is probably the first time, despite living so far away from home, but this is the first time that I felt so far away from home as well, because I just couldn't go when I wanted to. I was supposed to be home a few years ago, and I haven't gone home as yet. And just the amount of things now that you've got to think about before I go back home the next time, those things you realize, wow, I was taking all this stuff for granted, just the ability to, just say, hey, mommy, coming home in a couple of weeks and what's not, and the freedoms to just move around and do what you want whenever you want. And I think that's something that especially Western societies have found really hard. So just taking things for granted is something that I think has just been exposed a bit during this time.
True. Phillip?
Yeah, I think one of the things that you said there about, the people during the Windrush generation having that grounding from the Caribbean, from the islands, I think that came out now as well. They're around us in a lot of our neighborhoods and so on. A lot of people were immediately feeling the weight and the pressure of what was going on, of the adversity. But there's something about the Caribbean spirit that looks at adversity and finds a way, right? There's something about that spirit that says there's still going to be some sunshine in this. There's still a chance to connect with people. Connect with my family and friends is what I'm going to have, even though we're not free to move. So I do think there's something in our culture that we might talk about and we might celebrate to some extent, but we need to recognize that it's also functional. It's not just an aesthetic thing that makes us the beautiful people from the Caribbean, but there is something that's relevant for the rest of the world that we have as well.
I think that's a fantastic segue into We Global and the living room, because coming out of adversity and so on, the creativity and the innovation that has been happening here as well as, across the sea in whichever direction you go. The living room, please, I'm longing to hear about its creation, the why of it, the how of it, and then the who of it. So I don't know who wants to take that one.
they'll
Go ahead,
probably
Dre.
default to me there now.
Go on, Dre. Come on.
This came about, well, a few years ago. We kind of had this idea of understanding, West Indians across the world. Where are we? What we doing? How we doing? And first of all, I should say that Mark, Phillip, and I, we knew each other from the time we were growing up.
No,
I went to primary school with
really?
Mark's wife. We went to youth
Really?
group and stuff together. So we knew each other for years. But no, that's important to the story. That's important to the story. Of what you
We
said.
kind of got that, but anyway,
So
go
we-
ahead.
So we always talking about stuff and different things like that. And when we started speaking about West Indians global or global West Indians, initially that's what we were thinking about. It was that understanding West Indians and their journeys right across the world. And so that was like 10 years ago we talked about this. But sometimes it's all about timing and what's the right time to do something and to start something. And so we get together quite often. That's why I talk about our friendship and camaraderie over the years, because we talk a lot, even though we probably talk a lot more during the pandemic and then even before, but we talk a lot and we get together a lot. And then one day we were just having a conversation, just thinking about how is Barbados doing and how different countries in the Caribbean are doing as well during this pandemic. And we just thought, if we are wondering and we're asking, maybe there's something in that people actually want to know. How are the other islands doing? Are the other countries within the region doing? And we can connect people through the platform of the internet and through the platform of this brainchild we had a long time ago called Global West Indians, or now we call it West Indies Global. And the fact that our stories are to be told. And I'm not sitting here in the UK waiting for the BBC or someone to tell me about what's happening in the Caribbean, or someone in the US shouldn't have to wait for NBC or what have you, or Canada, CBC. I think that's what they're called as well, CBC, in Canada, about what's happening in the West Indies. We should be telling our own stories, not just from a localized perspective, but from a regional perspective. And then because we always get together in our living rooms, then we just say, hey, let's do something, just call it living room, and let's bring the region together. And so evolve a slogan that Mark came up with, I think, making the region smaller, as well, through conversation. And that's what we want to do, connect the region through conversation. And that's how West Indies Global was born, and that's how the living room was born, as well as some other things that we're doing as well.
Quite synchronous, actually, because that's how the link up was formed. Out of the pandemic last year, March, we recognized that we would not be able to, it would not be business as usual. And so therefore we didn't want to stop working. We still had a mandate: inform, educate, entertain, even through a pandemic. And so therefore we came up with the link, from a meeting that we had, and then I said, we should really link with people around the world and utilize the internet, and that's how the link up was formed. So there's a synergy there that's special. Let us watch a clip from one of your Legends sessions with one of our icons here. And he's now in Jamaica, Julian Rogers. Let's just watch a little bit of it.
But look, we're going to bring in Julian in a second, but we just thought it really important that we honor him. Sometimes when you're thinking Caribbean, you can think about the prime ministers, you think about the entertainers, and obviously you think about the cricketers. But there are many other people there that we need to be honoring across the region. And Julian Rogers is one of those, for everything that he's given to the region from a journalistic, from a media perspective, everything that he's done. So without further ado, we are going to bring him in now to have a chat with us. Sir.
Rogers.
How are you doing?
Got it gone, man.
You see?
Long.
I know, that's why I didn't do it. I was going to do it. I was like, nah, no.
Long time.
How you
Greetings
doing,
from
man?
Kingston, Jamaica.
Greetings to you, man. It is fantastic to have you in the living room today. And not just to have you, but to have you to honor you. Fantastic.
Indeed.
Some people would say you guys are biased because all you're bacon.
Oh, shoot.
No, but the whole Caribbean claims you, Julian. So I don't think anyone would think that we bias. I don't think
All right.
anyone would think we biased at all. Everyone, when we announce this show, if you see the comments are
The
from
place
Jamaica
went
in the north to Suriname in the south. It's like everybody, the entire region claims you. So I don't think anybody would say we biased.
Nah.
Fair enough. That's a good comeback.
And I'm
So
sure.
I couldn't help but hear you guys talk about what's happening in England.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, I want to tell you that it is wonderful to be in the Caribbean, where it's extremely hot.
Indeed.
I know the say it's very hot in Barbados, and Trini say they just shared with me that they have heat.
Right.
I have to tell them Jamaica is also hot. So up and down this region, the weather is fantastic. We got the heat, which I'm sure many of you would love to have
You're
in
right.
a few months' time.
I thought it was quite cheeky of him, really wicked, to come with a background of, you know, the Caribbean island man with the sea and the flora and the fauna. Rubbing it in. Here's Valerie. She says, I so love these guys. We Global is epic. Please tune in on Facebook, 3 p.m. Oh, you've got your marketing. Wow. So it's 3 p.m. every Sunday. And this is 3 your time or our time?
Eastern Caribbean time, yes.
Eastern Caribbean time. Excellent.
Yes.
So you can have great fun. And yes, it's
We didn't pay any of these people.
conversations.
We didn't pay any of these
These are your fans.
No.
Follow us around.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you. I did notice some of the comments from him during that show, ribbing you guys. So yes, your fans are also your friends.
We enjoy Michael. Yeah.
So it's 3 o'clock on Sundays. And Julian is not the only one you've honored. You have honored many others. I noticed there was one with Gabby, Doctor, the most honorable Dr. Anthony Carter. There was Alison Hines that was honored as well, but then not only Barbadians. So tell us about your legends.
No, we've done David Rudder from Trinidad, Michael Holden from Jamaica, Jennifer Houston, Miss World 1970, Grenada, and we posthumously honored Vincent Devine from Trinidad a few weeks back because of his amazing work in the whole area of calypso and soca. So we look across the region to see people who have made significant contributions to their areas and to our lives, and we feel we should honor them, actually.
Right. And your conversations, they're not interviews. They are,
No.
like I say,
We
chats.
don't interview anybody. We just have conversations.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You get so much more out of that sometimes, I do believe, than when you have a definite structured interview. I like to call mine chats, you know, so.
Yeah.
But who, you know, outside of the legends, the actual show, what are some of the conversations? What are some of the things that you discuss? And what are some of the things that you have learned?
We've talked about a whole number of things. Yeah, a whole number of things. I know a lot of the stuff we talked about initially was how people were faring with COVID. So we've talked about the vaccine, we've talked about isolation, we've talked about just how online education as well. So we had a session with teachers coming in. We also did male health. That was for me, that was one of our really good shows where we looked at male health.
What did you learn from that?
We also did one. We talked a lot about kind of the hesitance that men like ourselves would have with going to doctor for certain things. We went from erectile dysfunction to blood pressure,
prostate cancer,
to prostate cancer and getting your prostate checked. Check out that show. Any men out there, check that show. There was a whole wealth of information in that.
Yes.
Earlier before that, we also did one on breast cancer, where we had a couple of ladies who. That was last October. Was that during Breast Cancer Week?
Yeah.
I don't think it
was.
this
month.
Yes.
It was. Yeah. Yeah, it was. Yeah. And we had a set of ladies at different stages of their sort of battle with breast cancer, and
Wow.
that was great to just sit and discuss with them as well.
Yeah.
Last week was also the week before Julian, when we looked at ganja, and that was a really weed is what we call the show. But I think it's worthwhile having a. They say something wrong.
I've seen some, but I didn't see that, and so
Yes.
yeah, I'm going to look back at that. You're on Facebook, yes, but you're also on YouTube.
Yes, you'll find us on Facebook.
Go, Mark.
No, you'll find us on
Facebook,
Facebook.
YouTube. Oh, bit of a delay. Go ahead, Mark.
I'm not going to butt in because then I'll mess it up. Go.
This is the problem with
So
mind
you'll
growth.
find us on Facebook at We Global Media, and you'll also find us on YouTube at We Global.
Ooh, I
where
see
you
the
find all of
mug.
our back catalog. Hi.
Fantastic. No, just saw the mug. Representing, excellent. Gentlemen, we've got like 2 minutes left. What would you like the Barbadian Link Up family watching you right now to know? You have any words of advice for them? Anything you would like to leave with them?
I'll start. I'll
Go, Mark.
I'll go for the young people in Barbados, and I'll say this. Look, this is a really dark season. We will come out of it, and don't let this season break your dreams. Keep being ambitious and keep looking for the opportunities. You can do this.
Well said. Phillip, Andre?
No, indeed. A very similar message as well. Be adventurous. This is not going to break us. We're going to be stronger coming out of this period here with COVID and what's not. As a country, we talk about the resilience of Caribbean people earlier, and that very much still stands and holds even now. So I'm looking forward to see us come out of this, being stronger, being better, more creative than we were even going into it. So just hold fast.
Excellent. Phillip?
My one word is community. Focus on community building whenever you get opportunities. And that community isn't just Barbados. That is really a regional thing. And I think that's something that's come out of the whole We Global experience. There's so much opportunity for across the region for us to link up. There's a lot that we have in common, but the differences are also fascinating.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you so much. This was definitely an honor and a pleasure. After seeing you and then actually being able to chat with you, it's certainly been a pleasure. And I'm going to ask that if we can link up, for some show in November where we can talk about the Carrot Keys and all the other things that you might be celebrating.
No foil.
It's going to be a different independence for us this year as we move towards the Republic. So that should be an interesting discussion. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
As well.
Stay safe and stay well.
You too.
God bless.
It was great being here.
Thank you so much. Certainly was fun chatting with the gentleman of We Global Media. And you can see that arising out of, Mark called it darkness, that we've got light and we're connecting more. As Phillip used the word community, and that's what it's all about. Thank you so much, Michael. Yes, we can see why you do. And you've tried Phillip's cabbage brioche. Okay, right. So now we see why he is the kitchen improvisation specialist. Thank you for sharing that, and thank you for sharing yourselves and your journeys. And I certainly hope that each and every single one of you, please stay safe. Coming up next, we're going to take a look, speaking of creativity and speaking of innovation, we're going to chat with Deborah Grant, and she's got an interesting twist on tourism. She's a certified international tour director. We'll find out what that is when we come back. I like how sometimes there are linkages with what we're doing. You know, when you take a look at what people are doing during a time when there's so much change, and how they create, how they innovate, and how then through that they find perhaps new areas of growth, personal and career-wise. I'm talking about Deborah Grant. Now, Deborah is a CPA-CGA accountant, but she is also a certified international tour guide, and I find this fascinating, Deborah. So welcome to the Link Up. It's nice to have you join us.
Thank you so much. Good morning, and thank you for having me here. I know there were a lot of letters there. Some of them are so unusual.
No,
Yes.
I know. One was the both of the first ones were the accountant part, but
Yes.
so how does an accountant working with numbers and figures and ledgers and tabulating and all of that sort of thing then find herself being a tour director and a tour guide?
Well, apparently no one told me there were rules that said that once
Good.
you did one thing, you cannot do something else. So I remember many years ago doing some jewelry, and I showed it to someone, and they told me it wasn't possible because I was an accountant, and accountants are creative.
Oh my goodness, yeah, that left brain thing, yeah.
Right. So thankfully I didn't buy into that. No one sent me that memo, so I didn't buy into that concept at all. I just embraced, whatever came out of me, whatever comes out of me. So accounting, I loved it, and I would say I'm now saying it in the past tense because I realized I don't have that type of love that I did before. I still like it, but I don't have that love that I did before. And when I got to a point in life where I started getting messages that suggested that I had to change trajectory, I was feeling like I was going through life like the same way. Everything was pretty much the same all the time. I was getting up every day and doing the same exact thing. And I thought to myself one day, is this what life is supposed to be about? So I started asking those questions of, what do I want to do? Where do I want to go? What do I want the rest of my life to be? What do I want my eulogy to say? And it better not be saying she spent X amount of years sitting at a desk being a fantastic accountant,
You went there, Deborah. You even went to get, seriously, to your eulogy?
Yes, I did.
Wow,
And I actually had a
okay.
visual of someone standing there giving the eulogy, and I wasn't pleased with what I was hearing. Not that what I did wasn't good, but it was, for me, if I'm on this earth for so long, I will want them to say a bit more than that,
Yes.
kind of thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
That you
So
kind
I
of followed
started-
your dream kind of thing
Yes.
and made it
Yes.
work for you.
Yes.
I
Yes,
like that.
I did my own thing, because I always say they have to play this song at my funeral my way, and it must be that
Same.
there are enough things.
Same. I want that as well.
Yeah, there are
Right.
enough things that speak to my way. So when I remember, I would tell you how this company actually came about. I was listening to a radio program, and they were talking about the fact that we had gotten our World UNESCO Heritage Site, and nothing was being done about it. And that program, I think, came about 1:00 in the day. And by the time I got out of my desk and I walked to the door of the office, I just released this business to my work colleagues and said someone should take it up. And then by the time I pulled the door, I turned back and I said, stop. I am going to do it. Don't tell anyone else. I'm going to do it. This is my business. And by that evening, I had Googled the equipment that I was going to use. I had Googled where I can get trained as a tour guide, because initially I was seeking training as a tour guide. And I found online 2 companies. I emailed them immediately. So before the day turned, I had already started to get the information. And one of them responded to me and said, at this point in time, our tour guide program isn't that great, that well subscribed. But we have a tour directors program. And if you come to the US and do that program, at the end of the program, and it's not what you want, we'll give you back your money. Now, I mean, like, duh.
Hello?
That was a no-brainer. I was like, okay, let's make this happen. So the September of that year, I went off to Florida and I did a week's training as a tour director, and my life was changed from then. I fell in love with the
Why did it
industry.
change? How did it change?
It changed because there in my class were people from all walks of life, all stages in terms of ages, experiences, everything. So my image of what a tour guide was before and tour guiding was in our environment was completely blown out of the water when I went there. I saw the possibilities of travel, of taking care of persons, how you take care of them, how you plan tours and all that kind of stuff. Some of the things will not be applicable here because we're one island that you can do everything pretty much. But it was so fascinating, as well as the different types of tourism. I mean, when they gave me the sheet with the different types of tourism, I was like, what? I didn't even realize that was possible. And so for me, it was like opening a whole new world that I could explore and get lost in and be fulfilled in the whole process as well. So that for me was amazing.
I find this fascinating because when a person has got a passion for something and lights a fire, nothing stops them. Look at that. You immediately, within that one day, one afternoon, you had turned your life around. And so, okay, so out of this then came your idea about tours. But UNESCO was the heritage site was your inspiration. So how did you then put the heritage site and the tour together?
Okay, when I travel, typically Barbadians, when we travel, we go shopping and all that kind of stuff.
True.
Well, for me, when I go shopping, I want to know about the place. I want to know the history. I want to know, something more about where I'm visiting. So I had been to Dublin, and I had been to the cathedrals and so in London, and I found the cathedrals fascinating when I got the units and I was listening to the way in which it was delivered to me, the sounds, the voice, the change in the voice. I felt as though I was back in that period of which the setting was made. So that was fascinating to me. Then on the bus tour in Dublin, the tour guide the bus driver, who was also a tour guide, he was just telling us as it is. And when he went down the political line, I was like, okay, this man is going to get arrested any moment now. Does anyone know how to drive this bus? Because there's no way. But then I realized that this is what it was all about. It was not the image I had of it before. So when I put those two together, and I recognized that we in Barbados have so much history that is there for just for the telling. I often say to people, 2-3 of us could be in Bridgetown and tell completely different stories, never crossing each other kind of thing. We have so much. So I thought, well, you know what? It would be great if I can have persons, when they come to Barbados, have the experience of having the units in their ears, so there's no one shouting through a bullhorn or having to walk onto you because they can't hear or something like that. So I wanted them to have that experience. And I'm also still working on the experience where they can actually have the sounds of the city and the period thing. I'm still working on that. I was hoping to have it out by this winter. I'm still hoping I will have it out by this winter. But yeah, for persons to have that experience. So that is how it was birthed, from those other experiences that I had, and I thought they were fascinating. And I didn't think there was any reason why we in Barbados couldn't offer the same experience. We have everything that is needed.
Right.
Yeah.
I like how you say in the information packet that I was looking through that you're not just a tour, you're an experience. And you also mentioned that you enjoy creating their experience. So
Oh, yes.
some of the tours that you have done, can you share with us? I know that I think we have a clip that you sent, an example, a sample of what your Chattel House audio tour is like. So if we can just share it with our Link Up family right now. We don't have it ready yet? Oh, here we go.
Thank you. So as you can see during our tour, I would ask that you keep your audio muted, and you just, if you have any questions as we go along, you just type them in the chat. And if I see them as we're going along and I can answer them at that time, I will. If not, we'll just keep them all to the end, and we'll make sure that they're answered there. Have you? Okay, wonderful. So this will be your first experience with Barbados. Wonderful. And as I have indicated as well, no recording of the session as we impart or in hold. I'm Debbie, and I'll be your tour guide today, and we are so happy to have you, and you can go ahead and follow us from here on. Today we are going to do a tour of historic Garrison and the military story, putting the emphasis on the military story. Now, the historic Bridgetown and its garrison became a World UNESCO Heritage Site on the 25th of June, 10 years ago. So 2011, we would have got our designation as a historic site. And there's so many stories to be told of this little island and these little parts of the island. And one of the exciting stories I have is of the historic garrison, mainly because it is my hometown as well. So of all the other tours, this one is, yes, I will be showing as we go around. I will show a map as we go along. So I'm showing you now the site. If you were here in person, this would have been the picture you'll be seeing where we stand in front of the in front of the museum, and we are looking across the garrison in the distance. On my, if you can see my cursor, that is the Hilton Hotel, and then on the left-hand side is St. Anne's Fort. This is the garrison area that we'll be following. Right here on the top right of the screen is where we are now, and we're going to make our way around, all the way around here, and come back to the start spot. And we can see the arches. Now, these arches would have been filled in recent times, but these arches would have been open during the time of the military. We see the stonework. Even in the stonework, it tells us that it was British persons who built it, because they have long, short, and that is the way in which the British lay their bricks.
Wow. So you've got to do your research, but apart from the research, you are also, I think, camera person, audio person. Who assists then with the tech, and I'm not talking about the cameras and so on, I'm talking about like the internet and that sort of thing, because then is it you only, or do you
Yes.
have, wow, I'm impressed.
Yes, I do everything for the tours. I do everything for my social media promotions and everything. I pretty much do everything. So it's learning. I'm constantly learning, constantly tweaking. Every time I see something happen in a situation, I say, okay, how can I get that done? Make sure it works well. And everything. I pretty much developed many skills over a period of time.
What's the feedback been like? Because I noticed that while you were actually, doing the introduction and so on, they were asking questions. So what was the feedback, not only of your tour, but also of our island?
Okay, so the first one that we showed just now of the Garrison, that young lady has never traveled to Barbados, so that was exciting for me to be able to share with her. And at the end of the experience, she really did enjoy it. I was a bit apprehensive whether she was enjoying it or not, but at the end of it, by her questions and so forth, she really did enjoy the session with me. And usually that is the response I get. Everyone is just, so enthused with what I'm able to share. And then the ones for the Bridgetown tour, that one was specifically from a Black perspective. So a lot of the questions were coming along those lines as well, outside of what I had shared. A lot of it was a case where, we should know a lot more of these stories. We should hear a lot more of these people, or know a lot more about these situations that have taken place and that type of thing. So the response has been really good for the virtual tours. And the end of most of them, everyone at the time was like, we can't wait to do it in person.
Right.
And some of them had already done it in person, but to support, they came on to try the virtual experience as well, and they thought the experience was actually pretty good, and they learned something different as well. So I always make sure that no two tours are exactly the same.
Yes.
So that you can have a completely different experience each time.
Have you been involved in the tourism product in any other areas apart from the tours and so on? Have you been involved in tourism?
Yes, so as I tell everyone, I'm the new child on the block when it comes to tourism, but I did come in full force. I also have a room that I rent on the Airbnb platform, and through that I was just the former president of the local association that represents that sector.
Okay.
I just gave that up in August. It was a difficult decision, but I needed, as you can tell from our last clip, doing everything myself.
Yes.
It was just getting a bit too much for me to handle everything, because even in my hosting at home, I do everything as well. So I can be the cleaning the bathroom and making sure everything is ready, and then be there with a beautiful smile welcoming you, and making sure you have all of your activities planned, and that I make sure I guide you in terms of safety and the places to go and that type of thing. So yeah, it's quite a bit, but I enjoy every bit because
I can tell. I can tell. I can tell. And the Airbnb experience, though, here in Barbados right now, I think it's still something that is building. It's still rather new, but then it had to undergo some changes within the whole pandemic. So how has that affected you and made you have to rework? And I can't believe we have less than like a minute and a half to go. The time has flown. Okay. But how has that then, changed what you had to do or are thinking of doing?
Yeah, well, for me, being a room in a home, thankfully it's just me, so I can do a bit more structuring in terms of physical distancing and so, but it might change in some of the things to make them only accessible to my guests. So they have their own cutlery and all that kind of stuff, and anything they use is just for them. It meant a bit more cleaning. It also meant that I had to, my before and after days had to be a bit more controlled, because I have to make sure I have enough time to clean and sanitize and all that kind of stuff. I probably had like 3 persons during this season, 3 or 4 persons. 2 of them were repeats. So it's been really difficult from that point of view, and I'm hopeful for this winter season coming up that more, because my clientele would probably be more solo persons coming out of Europe. So I'm hoping that those persons start to travel again soon.
I hope so. Yeah. I really hope so. But Deborah, thank you so much for joining us today. This has been great. It's Chattel House Audio Tours. You can check her out on Facebook, and you can learn so much more. And this is a story, I think, and an example for all of us. That yes, you can be in a job that you like, but then hey, change can happen, and the passion is what drives you. Thank you so much, Deborah.
Thank you as well. A pleasure.
Continue to do well, and we're going to go on one of your tours.
Thank you. Looking forward to it.
Yes, most definitely. Coming up on the link up, we're going to take a look at what's happening with UNCTAD 15. Dr. Sharon Marshall is going to be joining us and letting us know what the opening's going to be like and then what we can expect. And that's next. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Deborah. Stay safe.
Thank you. You too. Bye.
Bye-bye. What an interesting morning this has been. You know, we always like to say here that we hope that you watch with a notepad and a pen, because it's like a teachable moment. And I myself, you know, have pen in hand sometimes. So one of the things that we just learned from our session with Sharon is, Dr. Marshall, is check the website UNCTAD15.bb. So make a note of that. Also, another thing to note down, Sundays 3 p.m. on Facebook and YouTube, We Global, the living room show. You can check it out. Those guys are really and truthfully a lot of fun, but truthfully their shows also are a learning experience. You learn quite a lot, and you also see the camaraderie between not just them but also their fans, and you can see that the fans took the time to come and join our chat as well. So that's 3 o'clock, and they tell us it's our time, not their time. So Sundays in the afternoon, you can catch them. And then Deborah Grant, what an interesting story she had to tell. You know, in a job, yes, that she liked, but she just felt that she needed a change. And then what happened? You know, she all of a sudden had dreams of something else. And just like that, it happens just like that. She took the steps immediately within, like, from 1 o'clock in the afternoon into the evening, and changed her life. And look at what she's doing. She's having fun. And that's what life does for us sometimes. So I'd like you, if nothing else today, you know, take away that life gives you opportunities. They're always around the corner. You just have to sometimes be lucky enough to be in sync with them, that you can see them and take advantage of them. And I certainly hope that during these supposedly dark and changing times, that we find positive lights and we make positive changes within our own selves. And for right now, I just wish and hope that you and your family stay safe, you stay well, you follow the protocols, and you keep your head on. All right? So thank you so much for joining me today. Looking forward to having you join us next week, where we're going to have a kind of a musical link up. You'll find out all about that next time.